The wind on Veltraxis wasn't natural. It howled through the broken spires of what had once been a thriving city, carving through steel ruins like a ghost in mourning. But Ilari stood unmoved. Her long ears, high and precise, caught every ripple in the atmosphere, and her pale eyes, the color of distant moons, scanned the horizon as if daring something to rise from the ashes. Smoke curled behind her. Her armor, streaked in molten debris, whispered with the residual heat of battle. Across the field, 1,000 drones lay shattered. Between their carcasses, fallen men and machines shared the same stillness. Silence fell like a verdict. She did not look back. Generals who turned to admire their victories were either vain or dead, and she considered herself neither. Still, the weight of 100 eyes pressed against her back. Her troops remained in formation behind her, nervous in their stoic silence, not daring to speak. Not because of the enemy, they had none left, but because their commander, their living legend, their sharp-edged goddess of war, did not like to be interrupted when she was thinking. And she was thinking. More precisely, she was wondering what the point of it all was. Again. Then came the sound. A shuffle, a clang. Metal against stone. Ilari's ears twitched. She turned slowly, expecting to see a wounded soldier, or perhaps another foolish machine limping toward its inevitable dismemberment. Instead, she saw a man, unarmored, human, average height, disheveled hair. His clothes were dirt-smeared, one sleeve torn, and for some reason, he was holding a sandwich. He was also smiling. "Oh, great," he said. "You didn't explode me. That's a promising start." Ilari blinked, not because she was surprised, she didn't believe in showing that, but because her internal targeting system had just flagged him as a non-threat with an additional warning. Potential anomaly, unarmed, possibly malfunctioning. He took a step closer, crunching over debris. "So, do I kneel now? Bow? Offer you half of my sandwich? It's pretty good. Synth turkey, low-grade mustard, and something I think was once lettuce but is now philosophy." She stared at him. He took this as encouragement. "Right, jokes. Got it. So," he straightened, suddenly sincere. "You look stunning." The world did not explode, but something more terrifying happened. Her sword slipped. It clanged against the ground, loud in the silence, echoing like betrayal. Behind her, the entire command phalanx froze. One soldier let out a very small gasp before pretending it had been a cough. Her second-in-command, Commander Vreeland, twitched so violently he nearly activated a self-destruct beacon. Ilari stared down at her sword. It was a blade forged from the metallic bones of a dying neutron star. It had sliced through battleships. It had sung in the void of space. And now it lay on the dirt because a human had complimented her aesthetics. This was, objectively, the most dangerous thing that had happened today. "You dropped your—" "Oh, is that important?" the man said, bending forward slightly. "Do you want me to pick it up? I feel like I shouldn't touch it. It looks like it might vaporize my arm and then bill me for it." Ilari narrowed her eyes. "Who are you?" He lifted both hands, the sandwich still in one. "Tom Garrett, systems tech, part-time survival enthusiast. I fixed antenna arrays for the Rebel network, but I assure you I'm a very passive resistor. Emphasis on passive. You are unarmed. Guilty. You crossed the battlefield alone. Yeah, well, the shuttle was full, and Uber hasn't reached this planet yet." Her lips almost curved. A memory she didn't recognize stirred, a flicker of something behind her sternum. "What do you want, Tom Garrett?" "Ah," he said, "a warm bed, a decent coffee, fewer death drones, but right now, I'd settle for not being atomized." She considered him. Scans confirmed no weapons, no cybernetic tricks. Just a man, a human, a stubborn one. The galaxy was full of humans, but this one had crossed a field of corpses to talk to her with a smile on his face and a sandwich in his hand. The statistical improbability alone made her curious. She gestured and 2 guards stepped forward. Tom winced. "Interrogation? No. Vaporization? No. Oh, good, I was worried for a second." He grinned. "So where are we going?" "You are being taken aboard my ship." He blinked. "Wait, what?" "For observation." "Well, that's ominous. Observation as in scientific curiosity, or like Zoo exhibit? She didn't answer. Right. Mysterious silence. You do that well. As they began walking, Tom glanced at one of the guards and then at her. You know, he said, when I woke up this morning, I had 3 goals. Stay alive, fix the antenna, and avoid being abducted by galactic warlords. 2 out of 3's not bad. Ilari said nothing. Also for the record, he added as they reached the gunship's ramp, I meant what I said. You do look stunning. There's this whole, I will burn your world and then calmly sip tea aesthetic you've got going. Very effective. Very commanding. The ramp hissed closed behind them. The silence was colder in the ship's belly, harsher. The kind of silence used to decide the fate of planets. Tom broke it again. So, do I get a room with a window, or just a small cell in a vague sense of doom? One of the guards grunted. That's a yes, Tom said. Definitely a yes. And behind him, unseen by all, the corner of Alari's mouth tugged upward by 0.5 millimeter. It was, by Kerr standards, a seismic emotional event. The interior of the Sundagger was not designed with humans in mind. The ceilings arched high like cathedral spines. The corridors whispered in foreign alloys, and the walls pulsed faintly with living circuitry that responded to proximity, alien veins in a ship built for conquest. Tom, for his part, kept tripping over thresholds and apologizing to walls. The walls, insulted, occasionally pulsed red in passive-aggressive disapproval. Ilari walked ahead of him with measured steps, her armor humming softly as it adjusted to microshifts in gravity. Tom kept pace mostly by sheer luck and an unhealthy amount of sarcasm. So, he said, dodging another door that Iris opened just a little too late, is there like a tour package I should have signed up for? You know, Galactic Warship 101? Don't touch that button? Ilari did not respond. Cool, he mumbled. Silent treatment. Classic. Works on dogs and overconfident dates. At the end of the corridor, a door taller than any elevator he'd ever seen unsealed with a hiss. Inside was unexpected. Instead of a torture chamber or freezing cell, it was a room with ambient light, sleek metallic furniture, and, most importantly, a couch. An actual couch. It looked only mildly hostile. Tom eyed it warily. Is this where I'm questioned or vaporized? Just trying to emotionally pace myself? This is your holding chamber, Ilari said. It contains sanitation units, nutritional dispensers, and basic comforts suitable for extended detention. Extended detention, Tom repeated. Sounds like a spa with lasers. Ilari turned to leave. Wait, he said. Why am I still alive? She paused. The kind of pause that had previously preceded planetary bombardments. No one has ever said that to me. Tom blinked. Said what? You look stunning? She nodded once. Seriously, he asked. Not even, like, in sarcasm? Or from an underling trying not to get disintegrated? I do not encourage flattery. Well, yeah, but it wasn't flattery, he said. It was just honest. Her expression didn't change, but something in her posture shifted. Barely. Then she left without another word, the door sealing behind her with the finality of a falling gavel. Tom stood in silence for a moment. Then he looked at the couch. I'm naming you Kevin, he said. If I die here, tell my toothbrush I loved it. Kevin said nothing. Across the ship, in the command deck lit by holographic star charts and rotating tactical feeds, Commander Vreeland was trying very hard not to scream. She brought him aboard, he said to the gathered officers. A human, a rebel technician. He is not a threat, Ilari said without turning from the main viewport. He is statistically irrelevant, Vreeland snapped, and yet you allow him to walk free? He is not free. He is observed. Observed for what? Unwashed hair patterns? Primitive carbohydrate rituals? Ilari turned her gaze on him, and the deck fell silent. There is something unusual about him, she said. Vreeland tried, and failed, to keep the sarcasm out of his voice. Unusual, because he speaks without fear? No, she said. Because when he speaks, I listen. The silence grew deeper. Several officers exchanged subtle glances. One coughed in binary. Vreeland shifted uncomfortably. With all due respect, Supreme Commander, This is an inefficient use of strategic bandwidth. Ilari didn't reply. She simply raised a hand. A hollow projection formed in the air, an image of Tom, seated on the couch, attempting to converse with the sanitation drone. The drone was clearly confused. "Do you think it resents me?" Tom was saying. "Because I flushed that nutrient bar? I mean, it looked like a retired sea cucumber wearing armor. That's not food. That's an intergalactic insult to digestion." The officer stared. "He is peculiar," Ilari said, "and I intend to understand why." Tom discovered by the end of his first day that the ship responded better to politeness than commands. The nutrient dispenser gave slightly less gelatinous meals if you said please. The lights dimmed with a whispered thank you. The sanitation unit, however, remained defiantly cold. On the second day, Ilari returned. She entered silently, as if her footsteps refused to echo unless ordered. "Morning," Tom said brightly. "Or is it morning? You people use a 20-hour cycle, right? Honestly, time here feels like wet soup." "I have questions," she said. "Ask away, Queen Spaceblade." She sat, across from him, on a second couch he hadn't noticed before. Probably had unfolded from the wall like an origami threat. "You said I looked stunning." "I did. Why?" "Because you do," he said. "I mean, it's not complicated. You look like someone forged in a star, dipped in elegance and wrapped in an aura of, don't touch or you'll explode. That's kind of my thing." Her head tilted. "Your thing is aesthetic peril?" "Absolutely. Makes every interaction feel like a romantic subplot in a doom novel." She studied him as if decoding an alien artifact, which Tom supposed he technically was. "Do humans always speak this way?" "Only the charmingly unkillable ones." A pause. "You are not what I expected from the enemy." "I get that a lot," he said. "Usually right before people tie me to something." Ilari blinked slowly. Then, against the odds, against the fabric of expectation and the physics of Imperial command, she said, "I would like you to teach me conversation." Tom's brain short-circuited for half a second. "Like small talk?" "If that is the term." Okay. Lesson 1. Don't threaten someone before asking their favorite color." "I do not threaten. You walk into rooms like a prophecy." She didn't argue. Instead, she leaned back. "Then teach me. Begin." Tom rubbed his hands together. "All right, let's start with something easy. You ever hear a joke?" "I have encountered the concept." "Good enough," he grinned. "Here goes. What do you call a malfunctioning space elevator?" She waited. A cosmic letdown. There was a long silence. "I see," she said carefully. "Is this humor intended to damage morale?" Tom burst out laughing. "Oh, we're going to have fun." Ilari didn't smile, but her eyes glinted. And for the first time in her life, she asked someone not how they would die, but how they laughed. The sun dagger coasted through the Veil Nebula like a shark slipping between waves of stardust, invisible to most sensors, its hull humming with quiet menace. Inside, beneath layers of reactive plating and quantum dampeners, Tom was trying to teach Ilari how to play cards. She did not understand cards. "These symbols are illogical," she said, holding her hand of cards like they might detonate. "Why does the king outrank the queen, yet both are defeated by this?" "That's a 7, Tom said. "And in this game, it's actually worth more than either. It's like politics. Everything's confusing, and nobody really wins." "I dislike this game." "You've said that every time you lose." "I have never lost. I have learned." "That's adorable. You sound like a motivational poster in a doomed escape pod." Ilari raised an eyebrow. "Do you insult everyone you teach?" "Only the terrifying ones." Their card game was interrupted by a sudden chime. 2 soft pulses, followed by a blue light strobing gently across the upper panels. Ilari stood immediately. "Bridge." Tom leaned back. "And here I thought we were finally bonding." "You may come." "That sounds way more ominous than I think you meant." The bridge of the sun dagger was alive with motion. Tactical holograms bloomed over the central dais, rotating star maps, system grids, and a flashing alert beacon. Proximity intrusion. Commander Vreeland snapped to attention the moment Ilari entered. An unmarked vessel just breached the graviline of this system. Minimal signature, no broadcast ID. It's shadowing our drift pattern. Ilari stepped forward, eyes narrowing. Has it hailed? No transmission, but they're mimicking our wake folds. Could be smugglers or Kir intelligence. Tom behind her squinted at the display. Well, if it is Kir intelligence, they really need to work on subtlety. That's like hiding behind a curtain made of fire. Several officers turned to stare. No one had addressed Ilari that casually on the bridge before. She, to everyone's horror, said nothing. The vessel in question appeared on screen. It was a sleek courier-class ship, running cold but not cloaked. Its angular design looked almost Kir, but Tom pointed out a key difference. That's Earth tech, he said. See the vent fins? Those are Terran heat dispersal arrays. No self-respecting Kir ship would run something so inefficient. You are certain? Ilari asked. As certain as a guy who once fixed satellite dishes with duct tape and sarcasm. She stared at the image a moment longer. Bring them in. Vraylin's jaw clenched. Supreme Commander, that's a risk. Noted. Tom leaned over. So just to be clear, we're bringing aboard an unknown ship that might be smugglers, spies, or interstellar Girl Scouts, and nobody thinks this is a bad idea? Correct, Ilari said. Cool. I'll go prep the welcome cupcakes. When the boarding corridor sealed and the containment field stabilized, 3 figures stepped into the sun dagger. 2 wore light armor, faces hidden behind polarized visors. The third wore a robe, too long, with far too many pockets, and goggles. Immense goggles. Greetings, said the robed one. I come bearing a message, a question, and a device I do not fully understand. Ilari stepped forward. State your name. Professor Elix Nor, he said with a bow. Formerly of the Terran Fringe University, currently a freelance expert in xenoarchaeology and improperly timed sarcasm. Tom's hand shot up. Oh, same club. The professor perked up. Ah, a fellow sarcastician. Engineer, Tom said, though mostly I just keep things from exploding. An admirable profession. I do the opposite. Ilari's gaze cut between them. Why did you shadow this ship? Ah, that. Professor Nor reached into one of his too many pockets and produced something small, metallic, and humming faintly. This artifact pinged after the Battle of Epsilon 9. It locked onto this vessel. Specifically, he turned to Ilari. You. Explain. It's a key, Nor said. To what, I'm not yet certain. But it's old. Pre-Kir. Possibly pre-everything. And it only activates when near a being who is, how shall I put it, going through a major identity crisis. Tom raised an eyebrow. That's oddly specific. Isn't it, though? Ilari studied the device. It was shaped like a twisted helix, etched with runes that pulsed when held near her. This isn't Kir technology. No, Nor said. It's something else. Something lost. And I believe you're the reason it woke up. Commander Vraylin stepped forward. This is a distraction. A myth. Ilari took the artifact and held it. It pulsed gently. I will decide what it is. Tom coughed lightly. Just a question. If this is some ancient galaxy-changing doodad, does it come with a manual? Maybe a morally flexible AI with a tragic backstory? Nor beamed. Better. It comes with coordinates. That night, the ship altered course. The new destination was a system long abandoned, uncharted in modern maps, nestled in the folds of a stellar nursery. Ilari stood on the observation deck, the artifact in her hand, its soft glow reflecting in the glass. Tom joined her with 2 steaming mugs of Synthacafe. You know, he said, when I complimented your looks, I didn't expect to be dragged into a prophecy. I didn't expect to drop my sword. Life's funny that way. She turned to him. Why are you not afraid of me? He sipped the cafe and winced. Because fear is boring, and because you're not as scary as you think. She considered that. I have ended empires. You also lost a card game to a guy with mustard on his shirt. I let you win. Sure. A pause. The artifact, she said, calls to me. I've been called worse. She almost smiled. Do you truly think I'm changing? I think, Tom said, you're becoming. She didn't reply, but she didn't need to. The stars ahead shifted. The path, once straight and cruel, was bending, not broken, just bending. The sun dagger entered the uncharted system at subluminal speed, cutting through the stellar nursery like a blade slipping through milk. The nebula around them danced in soft pinks and golds, gases curling around stars still in their infancy. Most ships avoided such regions. Too many magnetic storms, too many gravitational eddies, too many things without names. Ilari stood motionless at the helm, eyes fixed on the shifting tapestry outside. Tom sat nearby, trying to decide if he was more impressed by the view or by the fact that their ship hadn't yet exploded from whatever ancient mystery they were chasing. So, he said, sipping something vaguely caffeinated, we're flying into the unknown guided by a glowing metal pretzel and a man who stores snacks in his sleeves. Professor Noor has knowledge of the artifact, Ilari said without looking away from the stars. He also mistook my toothbrush for a data rod. I'm just saying, maybe we calibrate our expectations. The artifact lay on the console between them, pulsing steadily now, its light responding to the surrounding radiation like it had a heartbeat. Occasionally, it emitted a low-frequency hum that made Tom's teeth itch. Professor Noor appeared suddenly, as if conjured by the smell of skepticism. Ah, you've noticed the harmonics. Fascinating, isn't it? It's responding to the gravimetric frequencies of the nursery. Something here resonates with it, or vice versa. Tom glanced at him. Is it going to explode? Not likely. That wasn't a no. Science is never a no. It's a gentle maybe wrapped in hope. The coordinates embedded in the artifact led them to a dead world. No atmosphere, no tectonic activity, and a surface scarred by ancient impacts. But as the ship descended, the artifact's hum became a steady chime. Ilari gave the order to prepare a landing party. Tom, to no one's surprise, was included. This is becoming a habit, he said, pulling on a borrowed exploration suit. Me, you, a mysterious planet. I think we're either cursed or dating. Ilari adjusted the settings on her gauntlet. You speak too often. That's my coping mechanism. Some people scream. I monologue. They descended in a shuttle with Noor and two Kerr troopers. The atmosphere was breathable, just barely, thanks to ancient terraforming systems buried beneath the surface. Systems that were somehow still leaking trace amounts of oxygen into the sky. The ground was dry, cracked like old paint, and stretched flat for miles, except for the spire. It rose from the ground like a finger accusing the heavens, impossibly tall, its surface smooth and unweathered. Runes flickered across its face in a language none of their scanners could translate. Well, Noor said, his voice reverent, that's not ominous at all. As they approached, the artifact in Ilari's hand began to vibrate. At 20 paces from the spire, it leapt from her palm and embedded itself into the stone like a key. The runes ignited. Then, quite without ceremony, the ground opened beneath them. They fell with a grace born entirely of panic. When they landed, none of them were seriously injured, though Tom insisted his pride had suffered severe bruising in 3 dimensions. They found themselves in a massive chamber, lit by unknown sources, filled with machinery that pulsed with ancient intelligence. At the far end stood a structure resembling a throne. In it sat a figure, or rather, a projection of one. It looked like Ilari, same long ears, same bearing, but older, wiser, wearing robes instead of armor. She stood as the group approached. I am Kairlen, the figure said, last oracle of the house that was. Ilari stepped forward slowly. You are Kir? I was, before the wars, before the blade, before we forgot who we were. The hologram walked around them, not quite touching the ground. You have awakened this place, Kirlen said. That was not supposed to happen for another 1,000 cycles. But the heart stirs when truth returns to the surface. I don't understand, Ilari said. You are not meant to yet, but you are changing. That is the beginning. Tom raised a hand. Sorry, just checking. Does this place come with a gift shop or maybe a glossary? The hologram glanced at him. You are the companion, The outsider who sees clearly. I've been called worse. She smiled faintly. This was a sanctuary once, Kyerlen said, turning back to Ilari. For our kind, when we still remembered how to feel, before the Empire burned the empathy out of us. Ilari's hands curled at her sides. I was forged to win, she said. And now you hesitate. A silence stretched between them. Then it is not too late, Kyerlen said softly. You must choose. You carry the potential to restore what was lost, or to bury it forever. Tom stepped forward. What happens if she chooses not to? Then the path she walks becomes a circle. Endless war. Endless silence. The galaxy will break around her. Ah, so no pressure. The projection began to fade. This place will remain open to you now. Return when you are ready. Then she was gone. The silence in the chamber felt larger than space itself. Back aboard the Sundagger, things changed. Ilari spoke more. Not often, but sometimes she lingered on the bridge, watching the stars with Tom, asking him about Earth, about music, about jokes. Why do humans find humor in pain? She asked one evening. Because if you can laugh at it, Tom said, you're not crushed by it. She nodded slowly. Then I will learn more. About humor? About not being crushed? Commander Vraylan grew increasingly uneasy. Reports were flooding in. Border skirmishes, uprisings, factions watching the Supreme Commander's strange behavior. Supreme Commander, he said one day, your hesitation invites rebellion. Ilari looked out at the stars. Then perhaps rebellion is overdue. That night she asked Tom to show her how to dance. He stared. You want me to teach you dancing? I have seen the archives, she said. It is a ritual of joy. I require practical experience. Tom laughed. Okay, but I'm warning you. I've got the coordination of a malfunctioning forklift. They danced in the cargo bay, lights dimmed, music piped in from an old Earth transmission. It was clumsy, ridiculous. And somewhere between the second spin and the third stub toe, she laughed. A real laugh. Short, sharp, and startled. He froze. That was it, he whispered. That was a laugh. I disliked it. You're smiling. I am malfunctioning. He grinned. Then don't fix it. Outside, the stars kept moving, and inside, something far more dangerous was beginning to shift. The galaxy was not quiet, and it had noticed. Whispers passed between relay stations and shattered moon outposts, low murmurs in encrypted tongues. The Supreme Commander hesitates. The Blade of Cure speaks to a human. She spared a city. She laughed. And now, from the core to the fringe, eyes turned not in fear, but in curiosity. That was far more dangerous. Ilari stood before the war table, its surface lit with alerts and encroaching enemy positions. Factions were testing her silence, launching probes, rallying forces once crushed under her boot. The Empress had not spoken directly yet, but the message was implicit. Correct your course, or be replaced. Commander Vraylan stood at attention beside her, expression carved in ice. We received an ultimatum, he said. Return to Cure Prime. Prove your loyalty. Ilari stared at the glowing data. They want Tom. For public execution, to assure them your heart still serves the throne. Ilari turned to him. What do you believe I will do? I believed I understood you, he said. But now I wonder if I serve a myth. Tom entered just then, munching on a nutrient bar he'd reprogrammed to taste like cinnamon toast. He paused. This seems like a heavy moment. Should I leave or sit dramatically in the corner? You are being summoned for execution, Ilari said. Tom blinked. Okay, not the warm greeting I expected. They want to see if I will kill you. And will you? No. Well, I'm flattered, and mildly terrified, mostly flattered. She moved around the table, removing her gauntlets and placing them down. I once brought peace through fear. Now I will try a different kind. Peace through terrible jokes? He offered. Peace through truth. The ship's crew had begun to fracture. Some remained loyal, confused but silent. Others were whispering rebellion. One squad had already defected during a supply drop, claiming Ilari's softness endangered them all. Vraylan watched it happen and said nothing. Yet he stayed aboard. They didn't have time to wonder why. The Sundagger was intercepted en route to the border. An Imperial dreadnought, the Hammer of Obedience, flagship of the Grand Inquisitor. She came aboard uninvited, tall, crimson-armored, voice like a laser carving ice. "You are unfit," she told Ilari. "The Empress weeps for what you've become." "She weeps?" Tom said. "Is it loud? Does she need tissues, or—" Ilari stepped forward. "If you seek my resignation, you will not have it." "I seek your end," the Inquisitor said. The duel was inevitable. They cleared the observation deck, sealed the bulkheads. The crew watched from behind reinforced glass. The sound dampened, the moment reverent. The Inquisitor's blade sang red with heat. Ilari's armor reconfigured silently, plating shifting to combat mode. Tom stood behind the viewport, fingers curled around the frame. "Do I yell encouragement? Is that helpful, or—" "Please don't," someone muttered. The duel was fast, brutal, beautiful in its violence. They moved like echoes of gods, blades clashing, sparks falling like stardust. The Inquisitor was relentless, precision incarnate. Ilari was something else entirely. She was no longer just Kir. She moved with purpose born not from conquest, but clarity. When the Inquisitor fainted, Ilari let the blade graze her shoulder. When she spun to kill, Ilari stepped inside it, closed the gap, and whispered something no one heard. Then the Inquisitor fell, alive, beaten, disarmed. Ilari turned to her crew. "I will not lead by fear." Silence. "I will not kill to prove loyalty." The silence cracked. "If I must choose between a crown and my soul, then let the throne burn." Vraylan stepped forward slowly and saluted. One by one, others followed. The message was sent across a dozen systems within the hour. The Empire could not bury it. Ilari, unbent, unbroken, had chosen the path of mercy. Her voice echoed through every communication channel. "I will no longer command war without reason. The Kir are not weapons. We are people. Let us remember." Some called her traitor, more called her hope. In the days that followed, the Sundagger was no longer a warship. It became something stranger, a vessel of diplomacy, protection, and occasionally improvised comedy nights hosted by Tom, who was universally terrible but undeniably beloved. Professor Noor departed with the artifact, which had dimmed, its purpose fulfilled, for now. "Call me when you discover another forbidden prophecy," he said, disappearing into hyperspace with a pocket full of glowing rocks and a crate of questionable snacks. Ilari returned to the sanctuary planet once, alone. She stood before the now silent projection and left her blade embedded in the floor. When she returned to the ship, she wore no armor. Tom greeted her in the docking bay. "You're underdressed for war," he said. "I no longer attend war." "Then what do you attend?" She looked at him, ears tilted ever so slightly forward. "Conversations." He grinned. "My specialty." They walked the corridor side by side. No guards, no weapons. She reached for his hand, not with hesitation, but with choice. Somewhere a star was born. Somewhere a rumor became a movement. And on a ship once feared across galaxies, a woman who had ended empires began finally to live.